Bettye LaVette.
Hey, Nick.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So good to have you here.
Thank you.
So you have, congratulations on your new record.
Thank you.
A record of Bob Dylan songs. Two questions. First, how did you choose the songs? Because there's about 7,000 of them. And how did you sift through and figure out which ones were going to work for you?
That was probably more due to my husband, Kevin Kiley, because he's willing to listen to music on a continuous basis every day, and I'm not. But he listened to hundreds of songs and narrowed them down to about 70, maybe 50, 60, 70, and I chose these 12. And it's even though the tunes are like voluminous, there's a lot of them, but there's only so many that there are only so many that would be appealing enough to sing or that I could really match with, and so that wasn't very difficult. I knew which ones looked like me.
Right. Well, you know, because they're characters and there's stories and there's narrative, and in some ways you have to, just knowing how you are as a singer, you've got to get inside these songs, right? So
yeah, well, the first thing that helped me out was I realized that like myself, Bob complains about everything. Just like an old woman. And I'm an old woman. So we had that in common right off the bat.
That's pretty funny.
But you know, the other thing I found, Nick, is that if you are in an argument with an old black woman, she can get the whole argument done in 3 verses,
right.
Not 7.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Now you had some really interesting people. I mean, obviously Steve Jordan was producing the record, and you had and he's recorded with Dylan before.
Yes.
And you had
Larry Campbell
playing, and Larry, of course, was in Dylan's band for years and years.
Yes.
So did they tell Dylan stories while you're making the record?
Well, no, not really. I don't know that he appeals to them that much, but there were things. There were things like, I think one of the other. What's the next one I'm going to do, Evan?
Things that change.
Okay, well, there was one song that I completely changed the actual meaning of. There were many of the songs that I changed lyrics to. Many of the songs that I had to take, like, I ain't walking, just talking. I took 4 verses out of it, and there's still 5 left. But there were things like Mama, You've Been on My Mind, which we're going to be doing you next. I completely changed the meaning of, because the words just didn't apply to what he had applied them to.
Right, and it didn't resonate for you.
No.
Yeah. And so I just want to know if you. And so who else played on the record? You had some other special guests on there.
Palladino, and who did we name? Pino Palladino, Steve Jordan. We had what? Yes.
Well, you had
Leon Pendarvis on keyboard.
Right.
Then Keith Richards was kind enough to come in and play a solo for me, and Trombone Shorty was kind enough to come and play a solo for me, and I was so very, very grateful to them. Keith Richards, as I was telling him, is indeed my contemporary. Actually, my first record came out before theirs, but they all became millionaires, and I never got a chance to meet them or work with them. And so I was very flattered. And believe me, we called some others, and they won't let me tell you who they are. But anyway, we asked Keith, and he consented to come and play for me. I was so grateful to him.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing thing, because you're recasting these songs in ways that actually make them sound kind of like new songs. They sound like Bettye LaVette songs. I mean, I'm hearing these songs that I've heard before, and discovering them, which is cool, and it's hard to do. So congratulations.
Well, I had not heard them before, so that was why it was easy. Bob was not played a lot on black radio. He really wasn't.
And to tell you the truth, you picked some songs that are pretty obscure, even for guys like me.
Yeah, I was so surprised at this group of songs how much his fans weren't particularly, fond of many of them. And I've been so gratified that so many people have said that they do like many of them now.
Yeah. No, this is a good thing. Now, if you, after having dug into all these songs and hung out with his lyrics and his thinking, what would you ask him if he walked in the door right now? What would you say to him?
Why he kissed me in my mouth and didn't say anything else. We were in Italy, and we were coming out of the dressing room, and when I opened my door, security was standing there, and they said, well, no one can come out because Mr. Dillon's getting ready to go on the stage. I can't tell y'all what I said to him, but I came on out, and Bob came out of his dressing room. We're walking like parallel to each other. He's walking with his bass player, whom I did not know, and did not know that he actually was a fan of mine. And because I was angry about them not letting me out of the dressing room, I said, hey, Robert Dillon. And he turned and looked at me, and the bass player said, that's Bettye LaVette. He walked over to me, grabbed my face in both his hands, kissed me dead in the mouth, and walked on the stage. So we're calling, there's this old standard called Prelude to a Kiss. We're calling this Prelude to Words.
In case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown. I'm here with Bettye LaVette. And these are good.
In case you thought it was another program.
In case you thought it was some other thing. Now, people could get in trouble for that, but, that's a modern era. But... I want to ask you a little bit. One of the songs you cut on the record is Living in a Political World, and I know that's not in your set today, but it's kind of true these days.
Oh, absolutely. I think that times are changing. Things have changed, political world. They could have been written last week.
Yeah. And you sang, as I mentioned, at the Obama inauguration. Mm-hmm. You sung for the Kennedy Center honors there. Have you gotten involved in political campaigns or political causes in your career? Have you done that before?
Believe it or not, I was one of the first black people involved in the Ross Perot campaign.
Wow.
And that was my first foray into show business. And that was, into political business. But that was primarily because I'm from Detroit. I'm a General Motors baby. And he belonged to General Motors. So I got a chance to hear him a little more often than most people did, because whenever he came to Detroit, I would hear his speeches, so I got involved in that. Yeah. But it's very like show business, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. More so all the time, apparently. But this is a time, it's funny, I think about Mavis, I think about Aretha, some of your contemporaries also. They're both older than you are. And but Mavis was certainly involved with Dr. King and the Staple Singers, and just using music to try to bring people together and affect change. Mm-hmm. Is that something that can work now? That songs can bring people together? Is that something you're aware of, or you think about at all?
Oh, I'm sure that it can. I'm sure it does, but not by me. Yeah. I really just like to keep them separate. When I'm there performing, I'm strictly performing to entertain you. I'm not trying to teach you anything. I'm not trying to make you realize anything other than emotions and feelings. And that's the part of it I deal with. Yeah.
Well, I know from spending a little time with you over the years that you are a no-nonsense performer. You work hard, and when you get to the gig, you do everything you can to put on a good show. How's the balance going with your family, your home life, and touring? Is that you got that pretty dialed in now, or is?
Well, it's I was only Betty Jo Haskins for 15 years, and ever since then I've been Bettye LaVette. So my first record came out when I was 16, and I don't know how to be a mother or a daughter or anything. They all complied to Bettye LaVette, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I told you my grandson introduced me on the premiere of my new release. He has been made a sommelier and a manager at the City Winery in New York City. And he went on the stage to introduce me, and he said, I'd like to introduce you to a legend who is my mother's mother. And it just struck me that way.
Wow. Yeah, that can only happen once. That's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Bettye, thanks so much for coming back.
Thank you for
Congratulations on the
having
new
us
record. And let's get back to music. Welcome back, if you would, Bettye LaVette.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Nick Forster from eTown. If you want to stay up to date with all the performances, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, click the subscribe button. Thanks.